It is clear that the Super Mario franchise has become one of the pillars of the video game industry over the last 3 decades. Ever since the Red Plummer graced the millions of Nintendo Entertainment Systems around the world back in 1985, Mario has become synonymous with video games, racing to become the 6th highest grossing media franchise in the world, stuck between the Disney princesses and Star Wars, with revenues of over $47 billion. The Red Plumber and his entourage of characters are also tremendously prolific, appearing in a multitude of games across many Nintendo console generations. Mario has become the de facto brand mascot for the Japanese game maker, and it occupies the video game pantheon of characters, comfortably next to Pikachu, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Link from Legend of Zelda. I love Mario. Personally, I am one of those people for whom the story and characters take a second seat behind engaging play, and few franchises have gameplay so deeply rooted and as thoroughly rewarding as Mario. I can say that I got a Switch largely just for how much damn fun it looked, jumping around as Mario in the advertising material for Odyssey. But the part that always surprises me about the Mario franchise is its sheer diversity. Mario fans can experience their favorite characters in collectathons like Super Mario 64, Galaxy, Sunshine, and the aforementioned Odyssey, that generally serve as the flagship title for the Nintendo consoles, engage in high-octane races in Mario Kart series, or ruin their friendships by playing Mario Party. Very few franchises in the world are as flexible as to allow such dynamic changes in gameplay and style and not seem jarring. We have a video about the Pokémon franchise and how it might become an infinite source of revenue for Game Freak, where we talk about the different non-mainline Pokémon games like Pokken or Unite, and how they derive from the standard gameplay of the franchise. However, I don't believe that Pokémon reaches the sheer dynamism and adaptability that the Mario franchise does. I mean, just consider Bowser, the main bad guy of the story, whose intent is almost always to kidnap Princess Peach. The King Koopa can go from a star-devouring cosmic foe whose action caused the reset of the freaking universe and galaxy, to the rival in a polite game of tennis, without it seeming extremely jarring. I mean, think about which other nemesis in any game series can do this. Imagine Voldemort appearing as Harry's rival in a game of bowling, or Kratos and Zeus playing Parcheesi. Hell, even within Nintendo there are not that many villains that can do it. Not Ganondorf for sure, maybe King K. Rool? But the point still stands. The Mario franchise has managed to become an extremely adaptable franchise, a sort of primordial stew of characters that adopts the shape of every mold it is thrown in, from Mario Party to Paper Mario, from golf to soccer to karting, and today we will explore how Nintendo has achieved this. So welcome to Rebel Economics. We're excited to have you here. I have been wanting to talk about the Mario franchise for a while, and we have finally found a place for it. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It means the world for a small channel like ours. But now, back to the video. The release of a new big console in Nintendo tends to come accompanied by a Super Mario game that reflects the new technological capabilities of the system. Odyssey allowed users to throw Cappy with the Switch Joy-Con controller, Galaxy let Mario spin in midair by swinging the Wii controller, and Super Mario 64 added a new D to video game design, moving from 2D to 3D, and introduced players to the concept of moving the camera independently from the main character. It is undoubtable that the relationship between Nintendo's new hardware and Super Mario exists for a reason. The Super Mario brand is tremendously known, and thus a fantastic marketing asset for any new technology that Nintendo wishes to push to the market. We talked in our previous video on how the Switch saved Nintendo about the importance of getting consoles into as many homes as possible during the release of each new hardware set. Go check it out if you want more information, but the gist is that once a console is established in a household, by the very nature of owning it, customers will buy a number of games for it, which is where the profit is at in the video game industry. But it is very difficult to convince customers to buy a new console, especially for companies like Nintendo that redesign their hardware every decade or so. Generally, the way to do so is not by telling potential customers the hardware power, but instead by luring them in with astonishing exclusive titles for established franchises. Think Breath of the Wild and Odyssey for the Switch, Pokémon Colosseum for the GameCube, or Super Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64. The quote-unquote mainline titles of the Super Mario franchise tend to be used by Nintendo as these showstopper games to welcome a new piece of hardware. Nintendo relies on their splendor and popular characters to convince customers to get the new console. I say quote-unquote mainline games because it's not so clear to me which games are considered to be mainline games in the Mario franchise. It's not so clear-cut as Pokémon or Zelda. But for the sake of structure, when I say mainline Mario games, I mean the collectathon-style modern Mario games as well as the platformer 2D classic games. These games, I believe, represent the essence of the Mario franchise, the soul of the concept that Miyamoto envisioned. Straightforward story, likable heroes, villains that are clearly bad but not too bad, and tons of items to collect and power-ups to change gameplay. Now, I know that defining the essence of Mario is controversial, and I am willing to change it since to me the previous paragraph is just a working definition, but it helps in illustrating a further point. My main idea is that we can all certainly agree that the Mario franchise was not designed to be a karting game or a game based on the Olympic Games or a tabletop style competition with minigames. These belong to the family and are tremendously enjoyable, but these notions of the franchise's identity were found along its development, not conceived from the start. All of these other games, like Paper Mario, which is an RPG, Mario Kart, a racing game, and others, are therefore safely agreed to be examples of spin-off games, or instances of adaptable nature of the franchise. In order to understand the sheer impact that these non-essential Mario games actually have, it's always relevant to compare them to their generation's keystone Mario game. For the sake of argument, let's consider that there is only one collectathon game per generation, even though this is not always the case. So I am talking about Super Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64, Mario Sunshine for the GameCube, Mario Galaxy for the Wii, and Odyssey for the Switch. For the sake of our analysis, let's focus on the amount of Mario games sold for the Switch that are not mainline. So, as mentioned before, there are over 20 Mario games for the Switch, including relaunches like the Mario Kart 8 port, and semi-spin-offs like Luigi's Mansion 3 and the Mario & Rabbids games. We will compare those sales to the flagship Mario titles in this console, Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey has sold over 23 million units as of 2022, since its release in 2017. Conversely, Super Mario Party has already sold over 17 million units. Luigi's Mansion 3 has almost hit 10 million units sold, Mario Maker 2 stands relatively close to 8 million units sold. However, the true proof of Mario's sheer dynamism and adaptability is the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's sales, which stands at over 45 million units as of 2022, almost doubling Odyssey. This simple analysis tells us something. Primarily, that the idea of a single way of enjoying the Mario franchise is simply untrue. Mario was never conceived to be a karting game, yet Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has become the most sold Mario game on the Switch, which is a testament to the very notion that compelled us to make this video. But the question remains, what role do all of these incredibly successful Mario games play in the Nintendo ecosystem? I believe that the role of Mario games like Mario Strikers, Mario Golf, or Mario Party play in the Nintendo ecosystem is threefold. Number 1. They beef up a console's collection with an array of exclusive original titles. We talked before in our Switch video about the necessity of luring customers into purchasing new hardware by putting out compelling exclusive sales leaders. Games that make people want to get the exclusive console that they play them on. We also analyze that those spin-off games are tremendously well received, and it can be proven based on the sales numbers. These two ideas put together showcases Nintendo's intention of using these games to increase the size of their collection's exclusive titles. Other games like Dark Souls, Hades, and Kingdom Hearts can be played in other systems, so their quality doesn't necessarily compel customers to get the hardware that they run on. But anything with Mario on the title, be it Golf, Mario Maker, or Cards, is exclusive to the Switch. By capitalizing on one of these exclusive franchises' most popular characters and aesthetics, they managed to keep in-house and exclusively within their ecosystem fans of soccer games, racing games, tabletop games, or turn-based RPGs. The bigger the size of the vault of exclusive content, then reinforces new customers to purchase hardware, and so Nintendo succeeds. Additionally, spin-off games led by other characters instead of Mario serve the purpose of further developing the universe that Mario resides in, and adding personality to them. In a similar way to how Game Freak uses the Pokémon anime to imbue their pocket monsters with a personality in ways that the mainline games rarely can achieve, Luigi's Mansion or Captain Toad games further expand on the personalities of the cast of traditional Mario games, by showing Toad as a brave explorer and Luigi as somewhat of a scaredy cat, but who loves Mario enough to face his fears. Yeah, it's not Game of Thrones level of character development, but it still helps in fleshing out the characters. Second, by releasing games somewhat more consistently, Nintendo ties their characters to their customers' minds better. It has been 5 years since the release of Mario Odyssey. Imagine the level of cultural significance and relevance that a brand might lose in 5 years were Nintendo not to release these other games featuring the Red Plumber. Nintendo knows that developing times are long and the franchise will suffer if no new releases are put out during that time. That is why they generally satisfy the Mario fans with releases of non-mainline Mario games in between. This exercise, plus the aforementioned effort to flesh out characters in the spin-off games, allow customers to maintain a connection with their favorite characters of the franchise as they get to further develop their identities of their ever-expanding cast. For example, consider Rosalina, the Queen of Space and the mother of all the Lumas, has not appeared in a mainline game since Galaxy 2, way back in 2010. Without Nintendo being able to put her as a playable character in games like Mario Kart or Mario Party or Super Smash, she would have been largely forgotten, like some other characters that did not get that treatment. Thirdly, the Mario makeover of less successful game concepts. Nintendo is also aware of the power of branding, and how customers simply react better to products that might otherwise not be too differentiated from the competition or have anything special. But put over them a brand customers have fond feelings for, and like magic, a product becomes way more competitive. We talked about this concept in detail in our video on what is the point of corporate mascots, so you can go check it out. Now, I'm not saying that every spin-off or non-core Mario game is simply a worse concept with a Mario makeover, far from it. I can appreciate the differences and the value that the Mario universe has, making games like Mario Strikers something completely different from, say, a FIFA game. But the power of branding remains there. Consider other sports games that are released for the Switch, games based on golf, racing, or other athletic events. Do you think that a nondescript car game could outsell Mario Odyssey? I don't think so. I think that lesser games, perhaps suffering from boring visuals, stale gameplay, or simply not capable of differentiating themselves from the sea of other sports-focused games, would do us better as a Mario spin-off. And Nintendo knows this as well, adding superstars, Goombas, and the Mario cast to almost any sport makes it more appealing to customers. For example, I have never in my life bought a FIFA game. I know, heresy, but I do own Mario Strikers, simply because I may not necessarily care about soccer, but I care about Mario. The fact that Nintendo's game and character design strategy has been able to create such a flexible franchise as the Super Mario Bros. One is fascinating. We talked in our previous video about cinematic universes about how the future of entertainment relies on a myriad of entry individual points for franchises, and the Super Mario franchise has managed to do just that. Whether we like tennis or soccer, platformers or RPGs, we know that Mario will be there to welcome us, with the legendary overalls and their equally legendary cast of characters. Thank you for watching Rebel Economics. If you like our content, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.